Oh look, another glorious morning. Makes me sick. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's me, Sage, here to talk about books today. As you can see in the title, I want to talk about the spookiest books that I want to read this season. Now, I think it's really important that I define spooky for you, because spooky to me does not necessarily mean scary. It could also just mean Halloween in general. It honestly could just mean witches at this point. Spooky to me is more about the atmosphere a book is creating rather than the actual scares inside the book itself. I don't necessarily mean like spooky meaning jump scare, meaning the scariest thing I'm ever going to read. I do have what I would consider like true horror on this list, but most of it's more like cozy or fantasy or just has a really strong atmosphere that I'm interested in. I have been celebrating fall since September 1st. Well, let's be honest, I've been celebrating fall since before my birthday, because basically it's like my birthday ends and then fall begins. August 13th is my birthday, by the way, so like dead in the middle of Leo season, fall starts for me. Fall is my favorite season. Fall is the season that makes me feel like I am at my highest potential peak. There's something about the atmosphere and the vibes and the comforting nature of fall and almost the nostalgia that goes with not only fall and autumn and back to school season, but Halloween, that just makes me feel like I'm at home. And most of these books, I think, encapsulate that feeling really well. We're gonna start diving in. We're gonna talk about these books. Here we go. The first two books I'm gonna talk about together because I feel like they kind of go hand in hand anyways, and they're both classics. I feel like saying that already, you know what they are. Like, you already know. It's Dracula and Frankenstein. Dracula by Bram Stoker and Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. I have never read either of these books. I know. I'm ashamed too. I completely agree. When I was a kid and I was reading classics all the time, I wasn't reading Gothic classics or these kind of classics. I was busy reading these kind of classics. So when I was in my classic stage and like fully committed to knowing literature better than anybody, because that's something I prided myself on, I wasn't allowed to read these. They were a little above my age level, A, and B, spookiness level, and I also wasn't in classes that read these. I read the shitty classics instead in school. So this spooky season, I would really like to read these. I do feel like, I know that Dracula, a lot of it takes place in like the springtime, but I just feel like there's something wrong with me if I haven't read these, right? I've seen like every adaptation ever, and it feels kind of wrong reading like retellings of these stories that I also want to read when I haven't read the source material. This is one of the original vampire stories. This is the very first sci-fi novel, or at least one of them. This is about a man named Victor Frankenstein who he creates a monster out of dead people's parts. And Dracula it's about Dracula. The next book I feel like is a little less obvious, but I am ashamed to say that I have not read this book yet, because what the hell? I'm the only person on the planet who hasn't read this book. It's Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. Fun fact, I own almost all of her books. Almost all of them. They're actually like literally right behind me. I think except the Beautiful Ones or the Chosen Ones, whatever that one is called. The Beautiful Chosen. Chosen Beautiful. And then two other ones that I just don't have. I really want to read this. And actually, I've read the first 100 pages of this, and I really liked it. I don't really even remember why I stopped, except maybe it just wasn't spooky season anymore, and I just wasn't in the mood. But I feel like I am going to love this because I loved The Hacienda. I gave The Hacienda 5 stars. There's no way I'm not gonna like this, right? Right? She said hopefully. Oh my god, wait a minute. I didn't tell you anything about Mexican Gothic is about a girl named Naomi who gets a letter from her cousin who was recently married to a man who owns this beautiful Gothic house in Mexico. And she's like, please send help. Naomi, I need your help. They're trying to kill me. So Naomi shows up and then stuff happens from there. I'm assuming that like any other Gothic house, the house maybe like has a personality of its own, or maybe it's haunted. I didn't really get to that part yet, but I'm assuming that the house becomes spooky. The next book that I would like to read is Cackle by Rachel Harrison. Cackle, I believe, is about a girl named Annie who meets a woman named Sophie, and Sophie may or may not be a witch. That's all I know. I feel like this could potentially have like sapphic vibes, or like obsessive queerbaity sapphic vibes, which I'm kind of into. Not the queerbaiting part, but the like woman being obsessed with woman. Also witches. Like most of this stack, most of all of my books ever, they're about witches. I love them. I love witches. I just feel something so integrally in my soul about witches that it just feels right. I've also heard this described as like cozy horror. I didn't even know that could be a genre, but I'm super into that. I've also heard this described as like Halloween Town, that it's got those kind of like almost sweet Halloween vibes. Also, this cover is so pretty. Oh my goodness. The next book I would like to talk about is actually on my Kindle, and it's And the Trees Crept In by Kurtager. Kurt. This is what it looks like. I heard that this is a horror paranormal. My battery is already dying. I just started filming. I'm sorry if the angle changed at all. Where was I? And the Trees Crept In. This one. This book. Right here. All I know about this is that it's a horror. It's about maybe two sisters? Two sisters will arrive at their aunt's home, and it's immediately clear that the manor is cursed. I love a good curse. I love sister stories. I like horror, and it's on my Kindle. There's something about like spooky woods and spooky trees and a haunted house in a manor that I like. You're going to notice that on these books, it's like witches, haunted houses, ghosts. Yeah, we like ghosts in this house. The next book I'm going to talk about I actually hauled in my A Darker Shade of Magic reading blog, and it is episode 13 by DiLouie. So this is a mixed media horror novel about a film / TV crew. Think Ghost Hunters, Ghost Adventures, that style, and they are making their episode 13, which is about a place that is super duper duper haunted, and I'm sure some crazy stuff goes down. Again, it's mixed media, so it's all told in like interviews and emails, maybe even scripting, that kind of stuff. This sounds very fun. Also, I am just like super duper, like I said before, into ghosts and hauntings and spooky houses, and the idea that like normal, quote unquote normal people are going in and experiencing these things even if they're skeptical. Ooh, I love it. Remember how I said that everything on this list could be like boiled down to like hauntings and witches? Yeah, this is not an exception. This is Slewfoot by Brom. Now, one of my favorite books of all time is The Year of the Witching by Alexis Henderson. I love that book. There's always an ever gaping hole in my soul that I need to fill with like puritanical Salem witch trial vibes. This, like, if I could go back in time and be in a time period, would I survive that time period? Definitely not. But there's something about it that feels so right to me. This book is about a woman. Her name is Abatha. I almost said Agatha. Abatha, this lady, meets an ancient creature in the woods after her husband dies. I'm assuming his name is Slewfoot, and stuff happens. I will say though, as a practicing witch, I don't love it when witches become the villain of the story. I oftentimes don't like witches to be depicted as evil, vile creatures, because oftentimes witches in history were actually the ones who were the protectors of their groups of people. They were the ones who were actually helping the women around them and making sure that the children around them were safe. So I don't love when witches, especially in this kind of time period, this like puritanical, cultish, Salem witch trial-esque vibe, especially since witchcraft was so heavily equated with like modern day feminism. Like, these women just wanted basic human decency, and they were treated like the literal devil. I'm hoping that at the end of this there will be a redemption for maybe some of the more magical stuff in there, but everybody I know I feel like loves that book. If the witches do turn out to be bad in any form, I'm not gonna like immediately like hate the book. It's just not my favorite trope. Calling a woman a witch was like the equivalent of a death sentence back in the day, and it was like the easiest way to hurt a woman and her reputation. Almost the villainizing of witches, even in a horror novel, feels wrong. I don't know, there's something about it that just doesn't feel good to me. The next book I want to read is This Vicious Grace by Emily Thiede. This book is about a woman. Her name is Lisa, and she has some sort of power that grants her some ability that is really dangerous, and it ends up killing her husbands one after the other. She gets married, she gets widowed, she gets married, she gets widowed, she gets married, she gets widowed, and then it starts off from there. I really don't know that much about this, except that the sequel is coming out in December. So I would really like to get to this before the sequel comes out. That way I'm nice and caught up and I don't feel guilty about buying a book when I haven't even read the first one yet. Yeah, I'm gonna lose it. The continuity of this video is so fucked. Alright, next book. You're Not Supposed to Die Tonight by Kalynn Braylon. This is the author of Cinderella is Dead, which I have not read, and I'm not really super interested in reading if I'm gonna be honest, but this is a YA horror novel that is very slasher-esque. Also, there's an owl on the cover, which automatically means that I'm gonna love it. I believe that this book is about a teenage girl who goes to a camp, think like Friday the 13th, Camp Crystal Lake vibes, except the camp, instead of it being like a real summer camp, is like a horror themed summer camp, and she is cast as the official final girl. People actually start dying and she becomes the real final girl. I love slasher movies. They're probably one of my favorite, besides like paranormal horror movies. Slashers are probably my next favorite of the like horror franchise. Like I love Scream, I love Friday the 13th, I love Texas Chainsaw Massacre, not the 2003 version. That version is so bad. Absolutely not. But the original, so good. Side note, there are lots of books on my shelves that I would consider like spooky or atmospheric. I know I have a ton of those that are autumn themed in any way, shape, or form, but these are the ones that are like top of the top of the top of the TBR. Does that make sense? The next book on my list of the books that I want to read is Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. This book is on my Kindle. Do not own the physical copy. I refuse to let myself buy the physical copy because I bought it on Kindle, and that's like too much. You know, I have to love it first if I bought it on Kindle. Like Kindle Unlimited, okay, like maybe we can talk about it. Maybe I will buy the physical copy, you know, depending on how I feel. Fourth Wing, if I bought the ebook. It was definitely more expensive than any paperback would be, and I just feel too guilty to not read it on my Kindle first. I feel like this book needs no introduction. I feel like I don't really need to talk about it too deeply. This is a book about a character, I don't know her name, I'm not gonna look it up, whose parents or like family are known for being these like dragon riders, dragon people, but she has a chronic illness of some sort. So she was going to become a librarian, but then her mom's like, no daughter of mine. She ends up going to this dragon school instead, and stuff happens. Why do I want to read this book during spooky season? Number one, I'm tired of not knowing. Number two, the sequel comes out, I think in like November, so fall is like the perfect time to read this book. And number three, dragons. Obviously. Do I even need to explain that? Okay. Admittedly, this next book, I don't know like anything about the synopsis, but it was a cover buy. It is a #1 bestseller in a different country, and it's translated. This is Lonely Castle in the Mirror by Mizuki Tsujimura. That's what I'm going with. This is the original cover. This is what the new cover looks like. It says, "Would you share your deepest secrets to save a friend?" In a tranquil neighborhood of Tokyo, 7 teenagers wake to find their bedroom mirrors are shining. Ooh. That's really all I want to know about this book before I go into it, but I've heard it's very atmospheric. I hear it's very cozy and sweet. I believe it's one of Allison's favorite books. Consider that a her recommendation, and also I am so excited to read this. For some reason, I know it's like bright pink and it's giving spring, but for some reason this gives me fall vibes, so I really want to read it during the autumn. Also, look at the back of it. Look how cute! this just looks so sweet and so cute and so fun, and I want to read it. So she's getting Twila. I am fully aware that this next book is a controversial pick and that most people don't like this book, but I love the movie and I don't care if I don't like the book. I'm reading it. It's Practical Magic by Alice Hoffman. This is the book a month version. I own all of this series in the book of a month version. Yes, it was a very long time to collect all of those because it was before they started allowing you to like buy like 7 books in a box. That's not how it used to be. I know the movie forwards and backwards. Hello, witches. Again, hello. I identify so much as Sally that it's not even funny. Like, not even a little bit. I just have to. I have to know. I have to know. Also, I read the first couple of chapters of Rules of Magic and I really liked that, but then I wanted to read them in order. Oh my god, is this signed? Oh my god. I'm sure that's printed on there, but that's still pretty crazy. Do I need to tell you what Practical Magic is about? So Practical Magic follows a woman named Sally Owens and her family, the Owens family. They're all witches. They're all women and they're all witches.
What are you gonna come back as?
A witch? No.
Her family is cursed by her like great-great-great-grandmother. Basically, if you fall in love with a man, he is basically doomed to die. It kind of just follows their story, Sally's story of falling in love and sisterly love and coming together and creating an unbreakable bond. Now, I have heard that this book is nothing like the movie, but here's my thought process. The book was obviously popular enough to be turned into a movie, which means there has to be something likable about it, right? Like, this book is still being produced till this day because of the movie. And like, she came out with a whole bunch of sequels within like a year of each other because of this book. Like, there's no way that it can't be like okay, at least, right? Right? I'm terrified of this book because I really want to like it. I just don't want it to ruin my favorite movie. It's one of my favorite movies of all time and I'm scared. I'm very scared, but like, look at this cover. I have to love it. I have to. There's no other option. The last Kindle book that I want to talk about is Haunted on Bourbon Street by Deanna Chase. This is the Jade, ooh, I can't pronounce that last name, Calhoun series. This seems like it's a cozy mystery romance something or other series about a witch who moves in onto Bourbon Street and mystery happens. Maybe there's some ghosts and some witches and Halloween Town vibes. Like I said, I am searching for the vibes this year and like the vibes alone, so Haunted on Bourbon Street. I am a little nervous about this one, I'm going to be honest, just because it's an older release. It was released in 2011. I always get nervous about books that were like released around the time that I was in high school because like I remember 2011 very vividly. I always get a little nervous because I remember what we were all like. We'll take this one with a grain of salt, but I'm just hoping for something cozy, something fun, maybe Hallmark movie-esque. I would also like to read Horrid by Katrina Leno, another haunted house story, except this one is more YA, so hopefully something that is maybe a little bit lighter, maybe more magical realism. I will say Katrina Leno doesn't tend to do light. I don't think that Katrina Leno is going to give me something light and fluffy and haunted and fun, but that doesn't mean I can't hope for it, at least. And at least this book is beautiful and will definitely give off the atmosphere that I'm going for as far as like haunted house goes. Now I have the Ex Hex by Erin Sterling. Speaking of Halloween Town vibes and romance and just wanting to like feel cozy and hallmarky and comfy, that's what this book is for. I just want that feeling in a book all the time. I also own the sequel to this, also again in the Book of the Month edition, so I feel kind of weird that I own the sequel not having read the first book. And again, it's just like, this is the perfect time of year to read it. October is next week. I am reading this soon. This is about a woman whose boyfriend breaks up with her and she hexes him using a Bath and Body Works candle, which is hilarious and iconic and also works. By the way, don't let anyone tell you that you can't use what you have. Yeah, she uses a Bath and Body Works candle and it works a little too well, and then love ensues. I'm assuming that they get back together because this is a romance novel. Second chance romance, Halloween Town vibes. How can I not? And last, but certainly not least, I have Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. I have two very famous book talk books on this list because I really want to read them. I want to read them so badly. I'm going to read you just the little like blurb at the top. When two young rival journalists find love through a magical connection, they must face the depths of hell in a war between gods to seal their fate forever. Tell me you don't want to read that right now. You do. I know you do. It sounds incredible. And this sounds like the perfect time to read it. Gods, hell, war, love, letters. I'm just so pumped and I think I'm gonna love it. I think I'm gonna love it. There's no way I'm not. It gives Addie LaRue, you know? It's giving Addie LaRue. It's giving magic. It's giving forbidden love. It's giving all of the things that I love in fantasy, and I just want to read it so fast. Also, the sequel comes out. I don't know if it comes out this year, but it comes out relatively soon, and so I really want to read this so badly. And that's it, everybody. These are all of the books that I want to read this fall, this spooky season. Let me know if there are any books on this list that you want me to get to first, because I will definitely be taking that into consideration. Also, let me know if you want to vlog. I would be happy to vlog any one of these books. Let me know. If you had to ask which ones I'm the most excited about, Divine Rivals, the Ex Hex, Slewfoot, and Mexican Gothic. All of the witchy ones, of course, because who am I?
Who am I? 2, 4, 6, 1.
I just want to read all of them. Can I read all of them right now? Shove them into my brains. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you got to this part of the video, leave the jack-o'-lantern or the ghost emoji. I'll leave it up to you. Leave me a comment down below if you've read any of these books, which one you like the most, or just let me know something that you're excited to read, and I will see you later. Bye, guys. Mwah.
Pas de soleil, pas de soleil, pas de soleil.